So yeah, so a lot of the stuff I'm talking about, I run a business. Right now, it's literally just me and one other person. But we're hiring designers and bringing in interns. Because in 1 year, we went from making absolutely nothing every month to making a lot more than that. And to the point where we have to turn away clients. Numbers are nice, but numbers get split amongst the people you're working with. It's not the biggest point. The biggest point is, what are you creating? That's always going to be sort of the end goal of what your work is. And we've worked with people all across the country, which is awesome. Me and my developer both work from home, which is awesome. We love that. It's cool to have a studio. We want to have collaborative space as we grow. But the goal is that like the internship we're doing, the design position we're looking to fill, all this is remote because we want people to love wherever they're at. We want people who are independent, who want to create something, who both want to collaborate and have their own visions. Because all these things are really important when it comes to just being an artist. You've got to be able to pursue your own skills. You guys all know this. I'm sure every single one of you has busted your butt for hours, staying up late, trying to make something happen because you saw it in your head. And so a lot of it's just a huge investment. And we want people to be able to do their own thing. We don't want people to have to be in LA to get the best jobs. And so, we're in a period of time where everybody's so connected. I've got clients in LA who are in Silicon Valley doing startups, who are doing virtual reality startups, who are doing product startups, who are doing licensing with people like Disney and MLB. And, there's no reason that somebody in the middle of nowhere, USA, whether you're in Kansas or in Virginia Beach or, how many guys are actually, what's that?
In Maine.
In Maine. You from Maine?
Yep.
There you go. Stephen King. Your life is in grave danger all the time, according to Stephen King. Yeah, so how many of you are actually from Virginia Beach? How many are not from Virginia Beach? Cool. How many of you are like more than 5 hours away? Like home is more than 5 hours away? Cool. How many of you are closer than that? Okay, cool. So we got a nice diversity of people. Okay. Joining the Zoom meeting. So yeah, so the goal is to be able to just create stuff. And a lot of you guys, if you're not thinking about it now,
and you'll definitely want to mute your microphone right away as soon as you jump in. You can press the green. Awesome.
Mute.
Oh, you might want to mute your speakers too.
There you go. Cool. How's that?
Perfect.
Okay, so can you guys? Oh, because I got to share my screen.
It'll do that all by itself.
Cool. Okay, so you guys can see what's on my screen. Okay, so yeah, so 3D, 2D animation. The goal is basically to, a lot of stuff we're doing. We're a business that basically we started a year ago. I may have already mentioned that. And basically, right now you can develop super fast. We went from having 0 clients to having to turn away clients in less than a year. We really started hitting things off this summer. Just real quickly, I'll show you guys. So Norton thinks that you guys' campus Wi-Fi is unsecure. I disagree. I love your Wi-Fi.
Someone has to put in the comment.
Yeah, it's nice for now. I'm just browsing the internet. I'm sure if you start running Netflix, you're out of luck. But so this is some. What's that? Sure. Kill lights? Yay, nay?
Good idea.
Could we kill some of the lights?
No, unfortunately, they all die.
Okay, just
It's all or
some
nothing.
Okay. So yeah, so this is some of the stuff we do. We're getting a little lag because we're streaming. But basically, yeah, we do all sorts of stuff. We do some creative stuff, we do some product stuff, as you can see here. We got into a bunch of different areas very quickly. And, kind of the stuff that we want to work with our interns on and designers is bridging that gap between I'm an artist and I want to break into the career. I want to make money. I want to do my own work. I want to do something. And it's hard because there's so many different ways you can go. You can do your art as a service. You know what I mean? You can work with companies to do what they need. This is a conceptual piece that we did for a marketing design company in LA. So many of the creative people are in LA, and it's just tough. It's like, how do you connect with these people? And that's kind of the stuff that we've been figuring out. And this is something we created from PhotoScan assets. So we basically use real things that are scanned with a bunch of pictures, and we use it as a 3D model. All of this we opened up in, we use in our 3D modeling programs. And yeah, so that's kind of just a brief overview of the different kinds of stuff that we do. We've also done like virtual reality applications. We've worked for like assets for game designs. Just done a lot of different stuff because, you know, in this whole realm of art design, whether it's 3D or 2D, there's just so many different ways you can go. Yeah, but it's hard for people to kind of bridge that gap. It's kind of some of the things that, you know, we want to work with interns on because, you know, as much as we want people on our team to contribute, we want to show you the kind of like commercial stuff that we do, like what it's like to be a part of a real project that has to go on somebody's, like one of our projects is going to air on television because someone's pushing it out as a commercial, which isn't nearly as cool as your product being featured on like cutting edge social media, you know what I mean, which is funny, you know what I mean, like I heard it's going on television, I'm like, oh well, you know, we can put that out on a 1 million follower Facebook page and then we got, you know, something exciting. Because more people are watching there. So it's just a matter of knowing where people are. We have to find our clients and figure out, you know, and so that's some of the things that we're trying to, you know, introduce people to is how do you make this into a career? Because we had to solve all those problems. I started off as a graphic designer doing 2D, so any of you guys who do 2D animation, motion graphics, I mean, I've been there. We've done all sorts of stuff like explainer videos, just a lot of different stuff. Primarily the stuff we work with now as far as 3D goes is products and architectural visualization. So visualizing a space or a product, because a lot of people, now we live in an age where you don't have to have a product to sell. You can start selling it before you actually manufacture it, whether you're doing a Kickstarter or you're pitching to investors. So we do a lot of stuff like that for people who don't even have a real product yet, but they want photography of something that looks real. That's kind of some of the stuff that I'd love to show you guys. Basically, how many guys are like into 3D, or how many of you guys have worked in Maya? Okay, so most of you guys have or will work in Maya throughout your time here. We use Blender, and I'm going to proselytize for Blender, you know, till blue in the face, because it's free, which as college students should excite you. It's open source. There's a huge community of people who are contributing to it and making it better. It's so much more alive than something like Maya or 3ds Max, because you'll notice as soon as your educational license expires for Maya, you're going to be charged over $300 a month to maintain that license. If you want to use it commercially, same thing. You know, you've got to shell out. That's like almost what you would pay like an entry-level employee. You know, I mean, it's tough. You know, you've got two of those programs. I mean, Maya's not going to be your only program either. You might use something like Substance Designer or Substance Painter. You might use a different rendering engine like V-Ray or Corona. You're probably already managing an Adobe subscription. So you're paying 30-something bucks a month for your student license and 50 if you're not. And it gets expensive. Blender's free. It's awesome. We still use Adobe. Adobe's fantastic. You can see like some of the things that I have on my start screen, other than the games. Ignore those, please. I don't game. It's all professional, I promise. It's just for client stuff. But I use Adobe Creative Suite. We use some Fusion for CAD models, but CAD models are a pain in the butt, not really fun. Yeah, so this is Blender. You know, you just gotta, you look at this, you look at any 3D interface, and it's roughly the same. But this is the kind of stuff that we use, and this is your 3D viewport. And these models were scanned. These are like some of those PhotoScan assets I was telling you about. We get those from a website called Megascans, which is fantastic. They did a lot of this stuff for Jungle Book, for a lot of different films. All this stuff is 3D. None of this stuff is real. It's made from PhotoScan assets. So people take a bunch of photos around an object, and they scan it using something like PhotoScan by Agisoft, different software to process those pictures into a 3D model. Then you optimize it, because at that point you've just got millions of polygons. It's way too big. And you get something useful and super detailed and real. It looks real because it's drawn from real life objects. And so part of, you know, talking about like breaking into a career, you know, as you're looking towards, whether you're a 2D artist or a 3D artist, you're looking towards getting out of college and getting into something, you know, where you're actually making a living with your art, or making a living doing the skills involved in your art so that, maybe you're not creating Pixar movies yet, but I work in 3D modeling every day. Sometimes I create more exciting stuff than other times, but I'm always working on those skills, which is awesome. It's a blessing. I'm very thankful for that. And it's hard to get into a position where you're using the skills you want to use. I know so many people who, I did graphic design, which is great. I like graphic design, but it's not really what I wanted to do. But it's just a need that more people have. So one of the things that's going to, accelerate your ability to get into a career position is understanding what do people need, what do people want, right now. And a lot of that is going to be following what's going on in your field. So if you're a motion graphics artist, what tools are people using right now? I'm always looking up what are the latest tools people are using for 3D, because there's tools that are specifically for making trees, like SpeedTree, or there's tools for custom shaders and materials like Substance Designer or Substance Painter. And you have to understand, you're always going to benefit from having a general understanding of your field. Like, I don't just model. I do everything, but that's not necessarily what I'd recommend. But you need to understand how all the other pieces feed into whatever you want to do. If you just want to animate, you've got to understand rigging, you've got to understand modeling. And if you want to do all of it, then more power to you. But yeah, so you start with a model, right, when you're doing 3D. And part of what's relevant right now is being able to make something real. And there's so much access to people. So these are models that I paid for. So I put down, you could put down $30 and get so many credits for a month on this program. So part of it is just knowing where these assets are. And so that's part of all that, finding the tools that are relevant to your field. If you can find those tools, you're going to understand better. Like for me, finding Blender was huge. That was what started my 3D career. And finding the people who I like to follow for Blender. If you want to learn Blender, look up Blender Guru, Andrew Price. YouTube is just the best place, especially for something open source, where since there's such a big community around it, so many people have access to it. If you need me to repeat anything or if you interrupt me, even if just for fun, just yell or shout my name. Blender Guru, there's CG Cookie is a huge one. That's a whole service around Blender education. And this program is free. So you pay for the education, which is $30 a month for a CG Cookie subscription. And they've got everything from animation to shading to everything. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to show you because some of the stuff is just really cool. The kind of stuff that you can learn if you're really interested in getting into this stuff. So lip sync animation, texturing in Blender and Substance Painter for game assets. All this stuff is accessible for $30 a month. You just have to know where it is. And just like these models, this is a library of models they have. And you've got realistic, this is a 3D model for goodness sake. I'll show you how easy this is to actually put together in just a second. But all this stuff is so accessible if you just know where it is, which is why we're trying to connect with interns and designers, because a lot of you guys who are looking to get this experience, whether it's in 2D, 3D, wherever your specialty is, you want to create something, you want to get connected, it's right there. You just, sometimes you just need somebody that mentorship role where somebody's going to tell you this is where it is, here's the gold mine. And it's really just a matter of, like I said, understanding where it is. So we spend $30 a month on something like that. And when honestly, some of this stuff is literally when you compare that to a 3ds Max subscription, which is over $300 every month, or when you compare that to hiring a designer to make this stuff every month, it's almost nothing. Especially some of this stuff may be harder when you're just breaking into the field, when you're not making money from it, it's not profiting you anything in the beginning. But if you want to fast track having a reel and a portfolio that is just incredibly impressive, this is the kind of stuff you want to get access to, because you put down $200. You know what I mean? Just don't buy coffee for a month or something. Seriously, I know it's tough. I've practically got a caffeine patch, but yeah, seriously though, whatever you have to do to get access to these tools, this is the kind of stuff that's going to fast track where you're at. So we've got this model, and this is this is Blender's materials. I don't know exactly. I've actually never used Maya, so you guys all have like a huge leap ahead of me in Maya or 3ds Max, whatever you use it for 3D stuff. But this is what their shaders look like. So a shader is basically the thing that tells you what it looks like, what the materials look like. So basically, when I download these assets from Megascans, I get this sucker right here. This is the 3D model, right? And you can move this around in 3D space. It's just like any other model you'd make, except it was scanned in. The geometry's pretty decent. It's all going to be triangles because it's also made for like game engines. If you know that, game engines use triangle models, and if you do an animation, everything's quad modeling, so it's all squares. But this right here is the principal shader for Blender. So this is like the heart of it. There's all these things you can change. But there's literally only 4 things you need to make something look straight up real, which is albedo, which is the color, specular, and roughness, which are how light reflects off of it. It's all about light. Lighting is like literally everything for 3D and for 2D too, but it's just a different way that you access it. The normal, which tells you like where the bumps and curves are. You'll notice this looks pretty flat in certain areas, right? But when you, if you're to look at the normal map on it, here, I'm just going to go to material views. You can see the materials on it. And if you look at this normal map, it's going to start filling in all the details. So you can see where the normal map tells you where all these little bumps are. And it fakes it. So instead of having like 5 million polygons, you just add a map on there, which is like, adding all the polygons makes the file huge. Adding a picture onto it is not so big. It's a lot more manageable. Yeah, so this is what it looks like before it's rendered. This is just like a live preview, right? Actually don't know how much it's lagging up there, so tell me if you're missing something I'm saying. But you probably have like, if you guys are familiar with Maya at this point, you've got probably like a viewport rendering where you can see what it's actually going to render. That's what we do in Blender too. It's a lot of the same stuff, just different tools. And this is what it looks like. Now, the lighting I'm using, if you look at this is a 360 photo called an HDRI, which has different levels of exposure, which means it captures the lighting at different amounts, so you can turn the lighting up and down realistically. But that's the only lighting I have here. I don't have any lamps. I don't have anything like a sun lamp or anything like that. It's literally just this. I plug that in, and I get these from, actually, this is free, so you guys should write this down. It's HDRI Haven. If you do anything 3D, you need HDRI lighting. And these are like 360 pictures, like I said. These are all 100% free. This guy's super cool. He's been doing all sorts of contributions to the 3D community. And like he goes places and sets up these 360 cameras and it's actually a huge process making these because you've got to take the picture at different levels of lighting. I don't know if you know anything about aperture and stuff like that, but it's super time intensive. And he makes all these available for free. But you can go and like subscribe to him on Patreon to get like different benefits. And this is the kind of lighting setup we use. Literally one thing. Obviously you can add detail to it depending on your scene, but there's just so much you can get out of just that one thing. You plug that model in, and this is like, I mean, if you set it up right, we need to add some like particle systems, extra leaves here because it looks kind of flat in certain places. But I mean, this is like just a stellar, and this is not, this block right here is like the size of a real person. So really like the scale you're looking at is looking at it from like there, or like here. If you look at this from that level, I mean like over these rocks over here, I mean, already you've got a huge leg up over somebody who, is using the same pipeline that they learned, in school, or, is kind of trying to follow maybe a more traditional route because things are moving so quickly. I mean, honestly, it's hard for people to keep up except for people who are like actually in the industry, which is why it's so important to get that experience. Seriously though, like, I'm just going to show you right now literally how easy this is to get from nothing to this. So you go to Megascan. They have some free ones. Like you'll see, free category. If you guys want to play around with this stuff, they have free textures on megascans.se. Like these are all free. Everything on this page. That's not a lot, but I mean, if you want to start getting into 3D stuff, this is like important to you. So just super easy. And basically, specifically in Blender, you pull out your principal shader, and that's this thing right here. And you plug in, you're going to get these different maps. And so you plug in a texture, image texture. I don't know how much texturing you guys have done in Maya, but it's super simple. You connect one to the next one, and you open up your files, and then you go and find your albedo, your specular, your roughness, and your normal, and that's it. These things literally take me like 2 minutes to set up. Now there's a bit of a learning curve. Obviously, you want to know more about what you're doing, you understand how it works. All that stuff's gonna be huge. But this stuff it's just super accessible. For you guys who are in the 2D fields, I'm sure this stuff is man, this is not relevant to what I'm doing. But for 2D stuff, I mean, honestly, it's going to be a lot about the same stuff. Some of the stuff is going to be more relevant to you, but the kind of work we do is, how do you find the people you're going to work with? You know what I mean? How do you guys find, have any of you guys done freelance work before in whatever you're doing? Who's done freelance work? All right. How did you find freelance jobs?
I knew a guy.
Yep.
One of the students on campus, he knew of another CTV student who needed a storyboard artist for their student film.
Nice. That's awesome. Anybody else?
I was just had a connection to people that worked on my cars,
Mhm.
and my family's vehicles. So I just like connections.
Yeah.
It's if you mentioned that you're an animation student or an artist, people start thinking of things that they need.
Yep.
So it's people at your work, people at your church, and everyone has something that they can use that for.
Yeah, absolutely. So, man, the biggest one is knowing somebody, right? So, especially for something that might be more specialized, the problem with a lot of that is if you're wanting to do animation, character animation, or you want to do not just you want to get out of basic graphic design stuff, you're done with doing just logos, you're done with doing just people's posters, and you want to get to be able to do more storyboard stuff, you want to be able to do stuff on an actual production. There's going to be a smaller and smaller group of people that who are doing that. So a big part of our experience as growing this business has been figuring out, where is everybody? Well, most of them are in LA. A lot of people are on the West Coast. Or international. You've got a lot of international business too. Yeah, that's going to be legitimately 90% of breaking into your career is figuring out where are the people who are doing what I want to do or who need what I want to do. And the problem with getting there is it takes time to figure that out. And how do you sustain yourself, making money while you're trying to find them? And let's say you do find them. What if your portfolio wasn't good enough? You know what I mean? How do you build up your portfolio while still making money doing things that hopefully don't distract you from working on your portfolio? So that was the big thing for us, you know what I mean? How do you, if you're spending 40 hours a week doing, maybe you have to work at, maybe you have to wait tables, or maybe you have to do some kind of labor job. Maybe you get to do something like graphic design where it's closer to what you want to do, but you're not doing animation, you're not doing character animation. Then it's kind of well, I'm spending all this time, investing all this time in something that's not my field. That's kind of where we've invested hundreds of hours basically working on understanding where people are at. There's tons of freelance tools. One of the ones that we love is Upwork. If you guys ever use Upwork.com, it used to be Odesk. But basically, you can find freelance jobs there. And people post jobs, and there's lots of these websites. There's Freelancer, there's Fiverr, Thumbtack is one of them. Thumbtack sucks, I never use Thumbtack. Yeah, and there's a lot of them, and we've been through all of them. And it's a matter of, you can put your work on ArtStation, you can put your work on DeviantArt, you can put your work on Instagram, Facebook. Maybe your teachers have been pushing this idea of branding and beginning to build a social media following. How do you do that? How do you do that profitably? How do you capitalize on the work you're doing? One of the big things that we do is we actually got permission from one of our clients, and we do this kind of regularly. We're taking the work we're doing and putting it on social media. So we take some time, and we actually, sometimes for this, we do a project twice. So we do it once, we finish it, and then we ask ourselves some questions about, we record the process. So if an error comes up, we write it down. This happened, we ran into this problem. Then you go back and you reiterate that, you record it, get OBS Studio so you can capture your screen if you're an artist. That's huge for doing time lapses. I'm sure you guys follow somebody on YouTube who does stuff like what you want to be doing. and they're putting their stuff on YouTube. Maybe they've got 100,000 followers. They're making money on that. And so there's a lot of ways for you to do this, but it's really a matter of, it's just so many pieces sometimes to put together and figure out. And honestly, it's going to depend on you as a person. It's going to depend on the kind of art. Like, there's no like one size fits all for artists, which is just tough. Like, if you're a nurse, someone can say, well, nurses should do this. You should go to this. Like, there may be like 3, I don't know. Maybe I'm overgeneralizing. But it's easy to see how something like that, you'd be more penned into a particular path, especially somebody with like all sorts of, legal boundaries, like a lawyer or a doctor. But as an artist, I mean, you probably have a vision of something you want to create, and how you get there, there's just an endless amount of possibilities. So maybe you are making money on something like a YouTube account, or you do Twitch streaming. Maybe you sell your art, maybe you sell your time as a service. But that's kind of the stuff that, in this internship, we want to work with people on, because, man, that is the number one thing for artists, is figuring out how to go from no money to money. Not even like tons of money, but just like making money doing what you want to do. Most of you guys would be totally happy making bare minimum wage if you could do what you love doing. And most of you, 100% of you, will be unhappy if you're not pursuing the thing that, I don't know if you, I know Region is a Christian university, and you guys probably have a lot of overlapping views, but I think generally, probably most of you, and feel free to shout and get into a fair argument if you disagree, can see that God made you to do something specific, right? And so if you're not doing that, that's not how you were made to work. It's not that you can't. My dad spent his whole life doing something that wasn't his passion, because I've got 9 kids in my family, and he had to pay for his kids. So when you guys have to do that, we have to make money. That's, a honorable thing to just provide for yourself and, to work. But you want to be doing your passion. And figuring out how to make some money doing that is literally the biggest barrier that's keeping people out of the industry. And we want more people in the industry so the industry gets better. That's why things like Blender exist, because the more people who are using something free, the more people can get into the industry and who can make everything better. Because when there's tons of people at this level, it pushes more people to this level. The more people are at this level, it pushes people further. So that's kind of the goal. Yeah, and you can find our posting on LinkedIn, or sorry, not CareerLink. Whew, you can tell that I got up at 2:30 this morning. Just to drive here and be with you guys. Don't you feel special? But this is our website. We're working on a new one, so don't get too hooked on this one. It's a WordPress website. Every single one of you should love WordPress, because WordPress or Squarespace, whatever party size you might take, because it's just an amazing tool. Should not be here. There we go. That's better. Because you need a website. You should, every single one of you, if you don't have a Facebook page as an artist, how many of you consider yourself an artist? How many of you make things you want people to see with their eyeballs? All right. Every single one of you should have a Facebook page, and not like a Facebook account, but like a page. Yeah, Google it if you don't know how to do that, because it's super simple, and every single one of you looks too young to not be computer savvy. Yeah, because that's huge, and maybe your teacher's been pushing this, and I still get there's like a huge barrier between having a Facebook page and actually knowing what to do with it. But the biggest thing you should be doing with it is, let me give you a free tip right now. This is the kind of stuff that I would talk with the people who, work with us at an internship level. Anyone who works with us is going to start pushing on social media, because that's just important. So if you don't know about Facebook groups, go find groups. So if I search Blender 3D, find your niche, find your thing. Here's a group, just go to groups, because these are communities. These are where people are at who care about what you're doing. These may not be your clients, but these are people who can follow you, especially like maybe you start off with clients. What we're looking to do now is move more towards content creation. So we want to make stories, we want to make stuff that people, instead of a client saying, hey, I want you to make this, we say, I want to make this, no one's going to tell me what to do, and I'm going to hope people watch it so we can make money off of it, right? That's what we're moving more towards. And for that, you need people following you. No matter what you're doing, it's best to have people following you because let's say it's just a bunch of art people who don't have any money. They can still share your stuff, and that is huge in this day and age. Just getting people seeing what you're posting because that's how you're going to get exposure and connect to the people. See, that's what it's all about, is finding the right things. Plus, you should be connecting to these kind of communities if this is what you love to do anyways, because you need to know what tools people are using, and you need to just be active in whatever your community is, whether it's 2D art, 2D animation, graphic design, motion graphics. And go to these, post on your personal page, not your personal page, but your Facebook page, like a business page like this. Yeah, please stop and admire my art for a moment and move on. So I posted this stupid little video because I found out that I didn't know this, and apparently it's been out for a while now, which made me look silly, but tons of people loved it anyways, because tons of other people were silly like me and didn't know. But if you go into, for all you 3D majors, it's kind of fun. I got tons and tons of 3D files. So when I go in here into models and go to CC0, I've just got stacks and stacks, and that's just one folder. So if I go into my purchases, because I buy a lot of models for projects, here's a PlayStation controller. OBJs don't work in this. Okay, so here's a PlayStation. Oh, it's just being slow now. I'm afraid it's going to be too slow. Okay, it's not going to work on here. But you can see it on here because I made a video of it and put it on social media. Basically, you can get a 3D preview of it and like navigate around it inside your little file explorer, which is super cool because when you're navigating through PDF documents, you can always see the text there, which is great, right? So you know what's in the document, like, oh, this is this version. Because sometimes you have different versions of the same thing. It's like, oh, shoot, which one is this? 3D file is the same thing, but you never get a preview. Well, now you do, which is cool. I thought it was awesome. Literally used OBS Studio to record any screen recording software. You can find one for free. OBS is great. To record like 10 seconds of video. Pulled it into After Effects, put a little meme on it, put it in a square, because everybody loves squares and memes. Put my logo on it so I could, again, get my branding in people's head. And it's been seen over 4,000 times. I put this up like a week ago. And I've got over 12,000. This is literally the only thing I've posted like in the last couple of weeks. And I've got over 12,000 people who this, connected with. Not people like literally like watched the whole thing, but people who like it was in front of. Yeah, so that's huge. Like just putting stuff out there. And then what I did was I went and shared this with like 10 groups, and then like 8 other people went and shared it themselves. You know what I mean? So you do a little bit of work, and people will push it further. Honestly, this is dumb. But there's so many people who, if you like just find yourself caring about something a little bit and you put it out there, chances are 100,000 people care about it way more than you do, and we'll share it. So like, I didn't think this was that fantastic, but it excited me for about 3 seconds. So I posted it, and it's related to what I do. Obviously, don't post your cat because nobody, unless you can somehow connect your cat to your art. Man, instincts are hard. I just about check my notifications here, and I'm like, this is not time for that. What's that?
I said you should. I followed you.
Oh, good. There you go. Cool. I bet you it popped up there. I didn't even notice. But yeah, so Facebook, huge. So now you get a preview of what the internship is going to be like. Just going to be on Facebook all the time.
On the internship,
Yeah.
what kind of responsibilities or experiences are we gonna get?
Yeah. So basically, depending on where you're at, with your workload for school, maybe you have a job, whatever you're doing. We are looking for a full-time designer as well. That's probably not the position for most of you, just because, that's just going to be a lot more burdensome. So while you're in school, like before you've had some experience, that's just not going to be productive for most of you. But for the internship, for a designer, they're going to be working on commercial stuff full-time. That's kind of their goal. And then they're going to be also working on creative stuff. For the designer, there's a lot more room to be working on creative projects with intern. There's a lot more room to be working on creative projects because that's kind of the goal. I want to give that person experience in the commercial realm, so they're going to help out on commercial projects. So they're going to jump into something like this stuff you saw in the reel. Working with stuff like this, photo scan assets, I might have them put together a room like this. This room is made almost entirely of purchased models. So I'll go and buy a bunch of models, and you'll have to put them together, which would be great. Generally stuff that's not super time sensitive, or with our clients who are more laid back, because we don't want to like scare any of you with deadlines, because I'll tell you, as scary as any of your teachers are about deadlines, somebody who has money is a lot scarier. They expect a lot more from you. Your teachers don't get paid enough to expect too much. Yeah, so we modeled this room, like basically they'll get to dabble in some commercial stuff as an intern. Definitely contribute in a meaningful way. Like we're gonna get some free labor out of you, which is gonna be great. But you're gonna get some like solid experience understanding what that commercial project's like without like some of the tension and like chaos of actually having to manage those things yourself. Because client communications is literally one of the hardest things when it comes to managing a business. So you get the fun part where you actually get to make stuff rather than having to go and find clients. And then on the other side, you'll get to work on more creative projects like this, where you get to make stuff that's like more story oriented, or this is like product stuff. So you might have to help with this kind of stuff. But this is really going to be like the smaller part of things. Probably the bigger part is going to be figuring out what are your goals and creating content around that we're going to push on social media, and that 4,000 people will see in a week. And the goal is to build that so that more and more people are seeing your stuff, and so that you can be leveraging this yourself. So, you might create a short film with us that we'll kind of coach you through and help you develop something. Then we'll help you push it out on your social media in the right way, and we'll also publish it for you so that you get to have this push. It's kind of like, this is this thing that we did as a team, because the goal here is to be able to see, be able to get that experience of collaboration, of just going through the whole pipeline, getting something finished. And then, those are really the two sides of it. Commercial stuff, creative stuff. Boom.
When you are, when clients reach out to you,
Mm-hmm.
where do you find a lot of people find you from? Is it just word of mouth or
Yeah.
Facebook?
Social media is huge, and Upwork is huge. The one I mentioned before. Upwork's awesome. The problem is that the problem you'll always be facing when you're in a freelance market, always somebody in India who's willing to do it for cheaper than you are. It's usually lower quality, depending on what level you're at. Obviously, if you're just getting out of school, sometimes it's hard to compete with those people, and their prices are going to be way lower than you can even afford. But sometimes people don't appreciate quality. So you kind of have to find so you got to find the right people. And that's part of the thing is we've been able to find the right people on Upwork. You just have to be picky, because you'll have somebody who comes to you and says, I want you to do this, but I only have $200 or I only have $2,000. And you're like, this is worth 10 times that. But if you're new, you're starting out, you're going to lose all that time because you're going to say, well, this is the only thing I have. You're going to take it and you're going to spend 2 weeks doing something that's worth, you're only getting paid really a day's wage, you're only getting paid a week's wage. And so the problem is, during that time, you could have been looking for better clients who would have paid you more for less work. We found clients who paid us, who were willing to pay a lot of money for something very specific that isn't that hard. It's a matter of making the connection and being able to show them, hey, we can make you something valuable, that we have. For one, it's nice that you're American because they like people who speak English. You got to be able to kind of leverage some of the things you have going for you. So it's just kind of hard. It's a matter of figuring out how to navigate that realm and how do I price myself right. That's really hard. What is it worth? You know what I mean? What's your time worth, and how do you figure it out? Some of that's just going to be experience, which is some of the kinds of stuff that we would coach you through, because you need to know what your time's worth, and you need to be able to figure out how long is this going to take. Especially when it comes to animation. My goodness, you'll have some sleepless nights if you decide that you're going to finish. Because people want tight deadlines too, and if you're not, willing to push back and say, this is going to take way longer than you're thinking, because you're the expert here. You're going to be up all night and very unhealthy. Any other questions?
You were saying that some of the projects you get to work on, you create like 3D marketplaces that people can explore.
Yeah. So one of the things we're working on now, I wish I could show you guys, but we're under strong signed documents that tell me I'm not allowed to. I don't normally listen to, but this time I'm gonna have to. But basically, I can show you some stuff. We do a lot of stuff in virtual reality, 360 stuff, a lot of fun. And so if you guys have never seen Tuvan throat singing or Mongolian throat singing, go look it up on YouTube. It's a blast. And you're gonna think I'm super weird after watching it, but I actually enjoy it. So I'm looking myself up. That's what's happening here. Yeah. So we worked on some really fun 360 stuff because the cool thing about 360 is that if you have a virtual space, all you have to do is render a 360 image, because if you've got all your angles covered, this is just a picture. But it's really easy to go from 2D to 3D to 360. And then once you get into platforms like Unity and Unreal Engine, like game engines, then you can incorporate interaction and motion. This is one of those photo scan objects I was telling you about. I believe that's actually one of the free ones too. So you can you guys could go and download some of these things and create stuff like this relatively quickly. This is something I got off of blendswap.com, which is a Blender model marketplace. I say marketplace, everything's free. Some of it's CC0, so you don't even have to credit anyone. Some of it's CC BY, CC 5. I don't know if that stands for something, but basically it means you have to give them a credit in whatever you make. But yeah, this is like 4K 360, which is a lot of fun, and you could animate this stuff. This was just kind of like an experiment, so we didn't go very far with this one. Yeah, there's a lot of potential for this kind of stuff, and the more you have experience with these kinds of futuristic mediums, things like graphic design, your standards, your logo design, being able to do vector artwork and stuff like that, it's kind of consistent. That's not going to change too much. Styles will change, but 2D art and the symbol element of all that, being able to condense a concept into an image, that's going to kind of stay the same for a long time. But when you're talking about animation and these more technology-centered things, the VR platform is going to change. All this stuff is going to be constantly changing. The more you're familiar with these kinds of things, the more, honestly, the more higher-paying stuff you have access to, because you kind of have to rabbit hole your way into your niche, because the more you're able to specialize in something that's personal to you, not just animation, but a specific style of animation, a particular method of animation, and it's starting to do stuff that's unique that people haven't done before. Then you're going to get more of that niche price, because when you do something that's unique, when you do something that's lots of people do graphic design. There's a lot of demand for it, but because there's a lot of demand, there's a lot of people who do it. When I got into 3D, the prices went up a lot, so it's a lot easier to charge more because it's more specialized. You get into particular types of 3D animation, like VFX, being able to work with particle systems, and being able to work with cinema level CGI, like you'd see in Spider-Man or Jungle Book or whatever. That's the kind of stuff that's going to get you more money. So specializing is cool, which is why we just love storytelling as a medium. So being able to use kind of these forward-thinking tools like 360 VR and these really cool game engines. One thing you guys should all go check out, whether or not you're a gamer or if you're just an artist, if you just like art, or you just like stories, you should check out Unity Book of the Dead. This is something, if you don't know much about 3D, this won't be as impressive, but it's still really cool artistically. All of this is it's not just 3D, it's in a game engine, which means it's rendering live. So what you see happening here, so I go from, this is just a model with a little preview, it looks very fake, going to this, where it looks real because it's rendering, it's processing the light going through the scene and calculating what would that look like in real life. This is where it looks real. that takes time. You see this little sample thing going up, it takes time. So it starts off fuzzy when you change the view and then clarifies over time. This is skipping that whole process. It calculates it a different way, which makes it harder to get realistic graphics, but it's obviously immediate. It doesn't have to process anything. The sun can move through the sky, the lighting can be changing, you could be moving, like I moved through that scene, but it doesn't have to reprocess. It does, but it's instant. And on games, if anyone's a gamer, they know you want to get 60 FPS, you want to get 60 frames every second. So you're going to be able to process 60 frames of you're in a new position, you're looking at a new thing, the lighting may have changed, and this is doing all that instantly. So it's really impressive that they can get this level of realistic graphics from the Unity game engine. So it's really cool. This is like a little demo story they did, but these are all, they actually use that Megascans library I was showing you. Yeah, just cool stuff. And it's cool, if you go and watch it, they've got cool music playing and whatnot. And there's a little story behind it. Yeah, game engines are super cool too. If you ever want to dabble in Unreal Engine 4 or Unity, both of them have, again, they're doing this thing where it's free. It's completely free. You only start paying a commission once you make a certain amount of money off of something you push out of that. So if any of you guys are interested in using your 3D for game development, those are the kinds of things you want to be putting your time into, because no one's going to really care about your 3D stuff. You're going to have a lot more access to clients if you can not only build the 3D models, but actually put it into the place it's supposed to be. Yeah.
Nice. I know we're nearing the 2 o'clock hour. So I did want to, if you want to unshare your screen real quick, I'll share, I have a link now to our online sign-in for this event. So if you guys want, it has the photo release on it as well. So I'll go ahead and share that with you all. There it is. Want to snap that with your QR code reader. Hopefully it works for you. Let's see, there we go. But yes, so the best way to connect is, of course, is through CareerLink. And if you have any questions about how to use that, please stop by our office or email us at careerservices@regent.edu, and we'll be happy to help you log in. Does anybody online have any questions? And if you do, you can type in the chat box or just unmute your microphone and start talking. Well, cool. Well, thank you all for stopping out. We have some more things going on this week as well. We're doing a lot of these tabling kind of events with employers through the end of this month, through next month, leading up to our career fair in March. So we're really trying to get you all ready for that.